Nema had been putting it off for weeks. The spare bedroom in her new house still smelt faintly of fresh paint and cardboard. Half-unpacked boxes formed untidy mountains along the walls, and in the center of the chaos stood a single object she hadn't dared touch. A small, dust-covered painting wrapped in brown paper, delivered by Eugene Brooks with the rest of her father's personal effects. "Monty wanted you to have this one yourself," the lawyer had said, his voice softer than usual. No rush. There was never a good time to open ghosts. But one quiet Sunday in early January, with rain tapping against the Tucson windows, an honest rarity, Nema finally carried the package to the kitchen table. She poured herself a glass of Barolo, cut the brittle twine, and peeled away the paper. The canvas was no larger than a laptop screen. An abstract storm of burnt sienna, indigo, and surprising flecks of gold. Thick, restless strokes, almost violent in places, yet the longer she looked, the more it felt like looking into the desert sky just before monsoon lightning. In the lower right corner, in her father's unmistakable architectural handwriting, MRC 2024. He had painted it the year he died. Nema's throat closed. Monty Caldwell had never painted a day in his life, at least not that she knew. He collected art the way other men collected watches, precisely, expensively, and always with an eye for future value. He did not create it. She turned the frame over, fingers brushing decades of dust from the backing paper. Something shifted inside, a soft metallic clink. Her heart suddenly loud in her ears. She fetched a small knife and carefully slit the brown paper seal. A folded sheet of heavy cream stationery slid out first, followed by a tiny brass key that rang like a bell when it hit the tabletop. The letter was in fountain pen, the ink still deep Atlantic blue. "My dearest Nema, if you are reading this, I am already gone, and some part of you is hurting in a way I could not prevent from the living side of things. I'm sorry for that, more than you will ever know. You deserve a man who looks at you the way you look at a perfect bottle of wine, with awe, respect, and the certainty that time will only make you better. I fear you have not found him yet. I have watched the slow poison seep into your marriage. I have seen the light dim in your eyes when his name is mentioned. A father's job is to protect his child, even when she believes she no longer needs protecting. Inside the safe deposit box this key opens. First Arizona Bank, branch on Congress Street, box 217. You will find what I could not say aloud while breathing. Use it only if he tries to take what is yours. If he does not, if by some miracle I misjudged him, then consider it a gift for the next chapter of Purple Leaf. Either way, know this. I have never been more proud of anyone in my life than I am of you. You turned passion into a sanctuary. You built something that cannot be bought or faked. That is rarer than any vintage in your cellar. I love you bigger than the desert sky. Walk tall, kid." Dad. Nema read it 3 times before the tears made the words swim. When she finally wiped her face, her hands were shaking so hard she nearly dropped the key. She drove downtown in the rain. The bank manager, a kind-eyed woman who had known Monty for 30 years, led her to the vault without questions. Box 217 was deeper than Nema expected. Inside, nested in black velvet, lay 3 things. A thick manila envelope labeled Queenland M. Chronology. A flash drive in a plastic case marked simply, Insurance. A second, smaller envelope containing $250,000 in bearer bonds and a short note. For wings, not chains. Nema's knees buckled. The manager caught her elbow and quietly fetched a chair. She sat in the fluorescent silence of the vault and opened the manila envelope. Page after page of investigative reports, bank records, photographs, and even audio transcripts. Makey, Eric Walls had done this before. Once in Scottsdale to a widowed gallery owner. Once in Santa Fe to a trust fund painter who was later institutionalized for depression. Same pattern. Whirlwind romance, marriage, creative block, subtle financial sabotage, bitter divorce, disappearance with settlement money. Both women are still paying spousal support years later. There were copies of forged signatures, emails begging galleries for advances that never materialized, and screenshots of dating apps under different names. A private investigator's invoice dated 18 months before Monty's death. The flash drive held video. Hidden camera footage of Makey meeting with a loan officer, sliding across falsified documents claiming co-ownership of Purple Leaf. Audio of him laughing on the phone. She'll never notice until it's too late. Trust fund girls never read the fine print. Nema closed the box, hands strangely steady now. She did not cry again until she was back in her car, rain streaking the windscreen like tears the sky was shedding on her behalf. That night she called Eugene. "I found it," she said simply. I was hoping you wouldn't have to," he replied. "But I'm glad you did. Dad painted the hiding place." Soft chuckle through the line. "He took lessons in secret for 2 years. He said he wanted to leave you something no one could appraise or auction. Something only you would understand." Nema laughed through fresh tears. Course. The violent strokes weren't violence at all. They were protection. A storm sheltering what was inside. 3 days later she met Martha Leonard at the courthouse to file an emergency motion. They did not use everything. They didn't need to. Martha laid out only 3 pieces: the forged loan application, the pattern of prior fraud, and the audio of Makey bragging. Enough for the judge to grant a temporary freeze on all joint accounts and schedule an expedited hearing. Makey's lawyer requested a settlement conference the same afternoon. The conference room smelt of burnt coffee and desperation. Makey looked like he hadn't slept in days. The expensive suit hung loosely now. The artist who refused to sell his soul persona looked ridiculous under fluorescent lights. Prescott spoke first. "My client is prepared to accept a clean break. No spousal support, no claim on the business or inheritance. He keeps his personal belongings and half the proceeds from the house sale whenever it occurs. In exchange, mutual non-disclosure." Martha didn't even look up from her notes. "We have a counter." She slid a single photograph across the table. Makey/Erica at a Scottsdale title company, signing the name Eric Walls to a quitclaim deed, dated 3 weeks before he ever met Nema. Prescott blanched. Martha's voice was calm, almost kind. "The DA's office has expressed interest. Wire fraud, forgery, identity theft. We're prepared to recommend against charges if your client disappears quietly and never contacts Ms. Caldwell again." Makey opened his mouth, closed it, and opened it again. Nothing came out. Nema finally spoke. "You have until 5 p.m. tomorrow to sign, or the flash drive goes to the prosecutor and every gallery in the Southwest." She stood. The men flinched as if she'd shouted, though her voice had been soft. At the door she paused and looked back once. "I kept the painting," she said. "It's going above the new bar, where everyone can see what real love looks like." She never saw Makey again. Some months later, on the night of the grand reopening of Purple Leaf, now twice its original size, with a wine bar, exhibition walls, and a small stage for jazz, Nema stood on a stool hanging the last piece. The abstract storm caught the track lighting and seemed to move, gold flecks flashing like lightning. Rowena came up behind her, 2 glasses of champagne in hand. "To Monty," she said simply. Nema took the glass, touched the frame one last time, feeling for the tiny ridge where the letter had been hidden. "To Dad," she whispered. "Thank you for the wings." Later, when the guests had gone and the staff were stacking chairs, Nema turned off all but one light, the spotlight on the painting. In the half-dark, the canvas looked alive, swirling, protective. She raised her glass to the empty room. "I feel you, Dad," she said, voice steady and sure. "Every single day." Outside, the desert sky was clear, stars sharp as diamonds over Tucson. Inside Purple Leaf, the storm on the wall kept watch, and Nema Caldwell, stronger, freer, and finally, fully herself, locked the door with a smile, ready for whatever vintage the next year would bring.